So it was just a regular Thursday evening, right? I was chilling on the couch watching some game on TV and out of nowhere Marie, my wife, drops this bombshell on me. How about we open up our marriage? She says, casual as if she's talking about the weather or something. Man, I was floored. Marie with her perfect little princess life wanting to spice things up. Honestly, I didn't know what to make of it. You see, Marie and we've been together since college. Always the golden couple, you know? The kind everyone looks at and thinks, they've got it all figured out. But here she was, looking at me with those big, adventurous eyes, suggesting we bring other people into our marriage. Like it's no big deal. I gotta tell you, I wasn't on board. Not one bit. But Marie, she's persuasive. She talks about exploration, about keeping things fresh, and I'm just sitting there trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, we had a good thing going. Why mess with that, right? But here's the kicker. I kind of felt like I didn't have a choice. Marie's got this way of getting what she wants, so I just nodded, a lump in my throat. Feeling like I'm stepping into some unknown territory. And let me tell you, it was the start of a wild ride. I had no idea then just how much this whole open marriage thing was gonna turn our lives upside down. Marie was all gung-ho about it. Started making plans, setting up dates, and me? I was just trying to keep up, still unsure about the whole deal. But I figured, hey, maybe it's just a phase, right? She'll get it out of her system, and we'll go back to normal. Oh boy, was I wrong. So that's how it all started. Just a regular Thursday night, a game on TV, and my wife proposing to turn our whole world on its head. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and what it means to be truly happy. Alright, so where was I? Yes, the whirlwind that became my wife's life. Marie? She just dove headfirst into this whole open marriage deal. It was like a switch flipped in her, you know? Suddenly, she's out almost every night, dressed to the nines, lipstick bright and daring. I'd catch glimpses of her phone lighting up with messages, names I didn't recognize, little winks and heart emojis. Man, it was like living with a stranger. I gotta admit, it stunned. There I was, the same old me, but Marie? She was changing right before my eyes. Parties, late nights, this whole secret life unfolding. And me? I was the guy left holding the fort, trying to make sense of it all. I'd sit up waiting, listening for her key in the door, wondering who she was with, what she was doing. My mind was a mess. But I kept it all inside. I remember one night she came home late, or should I say early? The sun was about to come up. She was all smiles, a little tipsy maybe. And she had this glow, like she was living her best life. And there I was in my pajamas, feeling like a total loser. I wanted to ask her all sorts of things, but the words just wouldn't come out. So I just watched her, drifting further away from me. Friends told me, hey man, you should get out there too, meet someone. But that wasn't me. I wasn't interested in playing this game. I wanted my wife, the woman I married, not some late-night party animal I barely recognized. I kept hoping she'd get tired of it all, come back to me, back to us. But as the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, that hope started to fade. You see, what hurt the most wasn't the late nights, or the secret texts. It was watching the person I loved most become someone I didn't know. I missed her. The old her. The one who'd laugh at my dumb jokes, curl up next to me on the couch, share her dreams and fears. Now she was sharing herself with others, and I was just the guy she came home to. So that's chapter 2 of my little soap opera. Marie, lost in her whirlwind of new experiences. And me, stuck at home, trying to hold on to the remnants of a marriage that was slowly slipping through my fingers. Little did I know things were about to take another turn. A turn that would change everything once again. So fast forward a year into this whole open marriage chaos. Marie still riding her wave of late nights and new faces, and me? Well, I was mostly sticking to my routine, trying to keep my head above water. But then, one night, everything changed. I was at this little bar down the street, nothing fancy, just nursing a beer and lost in thought. That's when Leah walked in. Leah, man, she was like a breath of fresh air. She sat down beside me, ordered a drink, and we just started talking. Nothing heavy, just easy, comfortable chit-chat. She had this way of making me laugh, you know? A sense of humor that just clicked with mine. And the best part? She actually listened. It wasn't like with Marie, where I felt like I was talking to a wall these days. We started hanging out more. It wasn't anything serious at first, just two people enjoying each other's company. But as weeks passed, I found myself opening up to Leah in ways I hadn't with anyone in a long time. She had this knack for understanding, for really getting where I was coming from. It was refreshing, to say the least. Now I wasn't planning on anything happening. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Leah and we just clicked. It wasn't just about filling a void or seeking some thrill. It was genuine, real connection, something I'd been missing for so long and didn't even realize. Marie, she noticed the change in me, saw how I'd light up when I talked about Leah, even if I was trying to play it cool. And let me tell you, she did not like it. Not one bit. The tables had turned, and suddenly she was the one feeling insecure, trying to gauge where she stood. It's weird, you know? For so long, I'd been the one in the shadows, watching Marie transform, evolve into this person I barely recognized. And now here I was, finding a piece of myself that I thought I'd lost. Leah, she gave me that. She reminded me that I was more than just Marie's husband, more than the guy left behind. I was my own person, with my own wants and needs. But as my relationship with Leah grew, so did Marie's panic. She started questioning me, wanting to know what Leah and I were up to, what we talked about, how I felt about her. It was like she couldn't handle the taste of her own medicine. She'd opened this Pandora's box, and now she was scrambling to close it as she watched me drift away. So that's the story of how Leah came into my life. She was this unexpected light in the midst of all the chaos. She helped me find parts of myself I'd forgotten, showed me that there was more to life than just clinging to the remnants of a marriage that was clearly on its last legs. But as things with Leah got deeper, the situation at home got more complicated. Marie's whirlwind was catching up to her, and our little game of open marriage was about to hit its peak. Okay, so we're at this crucial chapter now. Marie's world, her perfect little bubble of freedom and adventure, it started to show cracks, big ones. She's noticing how I'm not just her backup plan anymore. I've got Leah, and things between us are getting serious. It's not just some fling or a way to get back at Marie. Leah's become a real vital part of my life. Now Marie, she's seeing all this, and guess what? She's freaking out. She comes to me one evening, all serious-like, and says, "Let's close our marriage. Let's go back to how things were." Just like that, as if we can rewind time and erase all that happened. But man, it wasn't that simple. My heart, it wasn't in the same place anymore. Leah had changed me, you know? She'd opened up this new part of me that I didn't even know existed. With her, I felt alive, appreciated, like I mattered. It wasn't just about filling the void Marie left. It was about finding something new, something better. Marie couldn't believe it. She thought I'd just jump at the chance to go back to our old life. But how could I? After everything that had happened, after all the nights I spent alone, wondering where she was, who she was with, I couldn't just forget all that. And with Leah, I didn't have to pretend. I could be me, the real me, not just Marie's husband who was left in the shadows. The thing is, Marie's proposal to close our marriage, it came too late. My feelings, my whole world had shifted. And it wasn't just about revenge or getting even. It was about being true to myself. With Leah, I found a connection, a bond that was deep and real. She wasn't just a distraction. She was a part of my life now, a part one didn't want to lose. This whole turnaround, it was tough on Marie. She tried everything, from sweet talking to getting angry, to even trying to make me jealous. But nothing worked. The more she pushed, the more I realized how far apart we had drifted. It was like we were on two different planets now. So, here we are at the big turning point. Marie desperate to get back what she thought was hers, and me finally finding my footing, standing up for what I really wanted. It was a mess, a real emotional roller coaster. But sometimes life throws you these curveballs, and you gotta roll with them. Leah, she stood by me through all this. She wasn't pushing me or pulling me. She was just there, a steady presence in the chaos of my crumbling marriage. And that meant everything to me. It wasn't about picking sides. It was about picking me, choosing what made me happy. And that's what I did. So that's chapter 4 for you, Marie trying to close the door she opened, and me, realizing that door led me to a path I needed to walk, with Leah by my side. It was a tough realization, a hard choice. But in the end, it was the only choice that made. Alright, so we're diving into some deep waters here. Chapter 5. When the masks came off and the secrets spilled out, Marie, she didn't take the whole me moving on with Leah thing too well. Not at all. She went into this full-on mode to win me back, pulling out all the stops, romantic gestures, tearful apologies, surprise visits, the works. But it was too little, too late. My mind was made up. I was with Leah, and that was that. But here's where it gets messy. Marie, in her desperation, started playing dirty. She tried to drive a wedge between Leah and me, spreading rumors, twisting truths. It was like she was a totally different person, one I couldn't recognize or even understand. And amidst all this chaos, some real skeletons tumbled out of her closet. I started learning things about Marie that blew my mind. Turns out, this open marriage idea wasn't just about exploring or keeping things fresh. She had motives, man, ones she'd kept hidden under a pile of lies and smiles. I found out about past flings, secret meetups, even before she suggested opening up our marriage. It was like living in some soap opera, except it was my life. The more I found out, the more my image of Marie crumbled. It wasn't just about her wanting freedom, it was about her living a double life right under my nose. And the worst part? I was the last to know. Friends, acquaintances, they all seemed to have seen the signs before I did. I felt like a fool, a blind fool who had trusted and loved with all his heart. This period, man, it was tough. It's one thing to deal with a relationship ending, but it's another to realize that relationship was built on a foundation of lies. I had to rethink everything, question every memory, every moment we shared. It was like I didn't know who Marie was anymore. But through all this, Leah was my rock. She stood by me, not just as a lover, but as a friend. She helped me navigate through the storm of emotions, the betrayals, the heartache. It wasn't easy, but having her there made all the difference. She gave me the strength to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. So, Chapter 5, Revelations, it's about the masks coming off, the secrets coming to light, and me, facing the harsh truth about the woman I thought I knew. It was a turning point, a moment of painful clarity that changed the course of my life. But it was necessary, you know? Sometimes you gotta face the darkness to find your way back to the light. And that's what I was trying to do. Find my way back to a place where I could be me, where I could be happy. So, here we are at the final stretch, Chapter 6. This is where the whole house of cards comes tumbling down for Marie. And at the same time, it's where a new chapter begins for me and Leah. A tale of two paths, you might say. Marie, man, she saw her perfect world crumble. It's like everything she tried to hold on to just slits through her fingers. The irony? She lost not just me, but a lot of what she thought made her life perfect. Friends started drifting away, rumors in our social circles turned against her. The facade of the perfect life, the perfect marriage, it all fell apart. And in that chaos, there was me, finding my footing with Leah. It was like stepping into a new world, one where honesty and hope were the foundations. Leah showed me what it meant to be in a relationship where you're valued, where your feelings and thoughts matter. It was refreshing, healing even. Marie, on the other hand, she was left to face the consequences of her choices. Alone, confused, and probably for the first time facing the reality of her actions without any filters. It was tough to see, to be honest. Despite everything, I never wished her harm. But sometimes, life has a way of teaching us lessons in the hardest ways possible. With Leah, things were different. We took it slow, making sure we weren't just rebounding into something new. We talked, like really talked, about what we wanted, our pasts, our hopes for the future. It wasn't just about moving on for Marie. It was about building something new, something solid. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and slowly, the pain and chaos of my marriage with Marie began to fade. It wasn't forgotten, but it was no longer the anchor holding me down. Leah and we started building a life together, a life that was about us, about the present and future, not the past. Marie? Well, she had to do some soul searching. It wasn't easy for her, and I get that. She reached out a few times, trying to make amends, trying to explain. I listened. We talked. But some things, once broken, can't be put back together. We moved in different directions, each finding our own way. So, that's how my story goes, from the shock of an unexpected proposal to the whirlwind of an open marriage, from the pain of betrayal to the healing arms of a new love. It's been a journey, full of ups and downs, twists and turns. But in the end, it's a journey that led me to a better place. Marie's fall and my new beginning with Leah, it's a reminder that life is unpredictable, that sometimes the end of one thing is just the start of another. And as I look back, I see all the lessons learned, the growth, the pain, and the joy. It's been one hell of a ride, but I guess that's just life, isn't it? Unpredictable, challenging, but always moving forward. So, here we are at the end of the road, the final wrap-up. If there's one thing I've learned through this whole crazy saga, it's that life is full of unexpected turns. You think you've got it all figured out, and then wham, you're thrown the curveball that changes everything. The opening of our marriage, that was Marie's idea. She thought it would bring her freedom, excitement, something new and thrilling. But man, did that backfire. It's like opening Pandora's box. Once it's open, there's no going back. And that decision, it didn't just affect her, it changed both our lives forever. For me, it was a journey I never expected to take. From the confusion and hurt when Marie first dropped the bomb, to the loneliness and betrayal as she dove into her new lifestyle. But you know what? It led me to Leah. And with her, I found something I didn't even realize I was missing. Real love and peace. A relationship where I'm valued, where we talk things through, where it's about us, not just one person's needs or desires. Marie, well, she learned a hard lesson. Her pursuit of selfish desires cost her more than she bargained for. I don't say this with malice. It's just the truth. She set out looking for freedom, but ended up losing so much more. I guess it goes to show you gotta be careful what you wish for, especially when it comes at the cost of others. This whole experience, it's taught me a lot about life, love, and relationships. About communication, honesty, and respect. Things that sound so simple, but man, are they crucial. It showed me the importance of understanding not just your own desires, but also the feelings and needs of those you love. So as I close this chapter of my life and look forward to the new one with Leah, I do it with a heart full of lessons learned and gratitude. Gratitude for the good times Marie and I shared. For the growth that came from the pain. And for the new beginning with Leah. Life's unexpected turns, they can be tough, painful even. But they can also lead you to places you never thought you'd go. To people who change your life for the better. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's unpredictable, challenging, but always moving you forward. Here's to life with all its twists and turns. May we all find our path and walk it with courage, open hearts, and the willingness to embrace whatever comes our way. Hey folks, it's Gary here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's story, Opie found out his wife cheated on him after he came home and noticed what happened to be a shadow hiding behind his bed. At that moment, he knew it was his wife's affair partner. Then even crazier news developed that Opie's wife got pregnant by the affair partner. Now her life will be a complete wreck after Opie reached out to his lawyer and is planning on annulling their marriage, meaning she will get absolutely nothing from him. In today's second story, Opie found out his girlfriend cheated on him because she claims her family didn't approve of him. Now let's get into today's stories. I met my wife 4 years ago and got blindsided by her blatant and unapologetic infidelity. Just like every relationship, we had highs and lows, but I never imagined that the lows were that low. We got married 2 years ago and things were blissful. We both worked in the same work industry, but at separate companies. I was a manager and she was just coming up, and it would not be acceptable to work together as per company roles. Because we worked at separate companies and were nearly an hour away, I never believed cheating would occur because things had been so good at home. I could be working for 12 hours and come home to dinner, sex, and all the things anyone would love to come home to after a long day. Not to say I didn't do the same, because I always did. One of the things I loved to do was to bring her her favorite flowers every week on my ride home. She gushed every time I came through the door with them, and more so when they opened up to display their full color. Nearly a year into the relationship, we began to argue, but it was nothing more than simple misunderstandings. Although I was concerned, I also attributed it to some of our money issues. She hadn't been making as much, and although I was the primary breadwinner, what I made didn't always afford us the luxuries we had loved to engage in months prior. I always told her things would get better, and they certainly did. I got a raise and so did she. However, the arguments didn't subside the way I had imagined they would. Fast forward to March 2020, and the pandemic put us both on our backs financially. I qualified for assistance and promptly took it to make sure we'd have the essentials. She, however, did not qualify and was understandably upset about it, and when some other companies outside of our industry were hiring, she went for it and got a job. I, at the time, was collecting close to what I was making pre-pandemic weekly, and we discussed it would not be advisable to go and look for a job that would essentially put me backward career-wise. This meant I would stay home and help out while she worked, and with both incomes we'd be just fine. Prior to her getting the job and during, I supported her by making sure she had her paperwork filled out. I got up early and helped her get her lunch. I sometimes showed up to her job to take her out to lunch and took care of most of the other duties around the house she wouldn't always have time for. Little did I know that her sudden happiness had nothing to do with just finding a job and getting back to a much more stable financial status. From what trickled truth she gave me, the affair started almost as soon as she got the job in May and continued until I went back to work in August, leaving the home unattended. In November, I became aware of the affair when I came home one day to grab something I forgot and found the door chained when I got home. When she finally came to the door, I found a bath drawn with candles lit and her wrapped in a towel. The chain door was very unusual and set me into high suspicion because we lived in a secured building that needed a key fob or a code to enter. I began to look around and noticed a shadow behind the bed showing on a nearby mirror. I yelled out for him to stand up and face me, and for the first time I realized the guy that was cheating with my wife was someone I had met when I picked her up from work so many times. My wife formally introduced me to him, and at that very moment I felt sick to my stomach. He promptly left and I just sat there feeling stupid. I asked why, and her response was to get angry at me for finding out, and when pressed further told me she felt a connection. From there I knew I needed to get out and mistakenly never had an exit strategy. Due to COVID, my funds were severely depleted and moving out was not an option yet, so I had to brave it for the next 2 months before I would be able to move. It was by far the most numbing time frame I have ever dealt with. We slept in separate parts of the home and carried on like roommates. I wanted to be civil not for her but for my own peace of mind. That, however, was not to be, as I found out she had become pregnant as a result of the cheating, and I only tore the wound back open and I really began to feel like things couldn't get any worse. She also continued to flaunt the relationship in front of me and made going to work agonizing, knowing what was likely going on when I was not home. What's even worse is when I moved out she refused to pay the rent and I kept getting notices about it from the management company. In January I moved out and started to save money for a lawyer and sought therapy. I should note that she never believed I'd file, and I made sure not to let on that I would. It bought me plenty of time to consult a lawyer who went over all the details and originally wanted me to file for divorce but later decided that an annulment would be better. The lawyer also drafted letters to ensure I would not be on the hook for the lease and paperwork with the IRS to have our tax debt split. We filed at the end of May, 1 year after when I believe the affair began. Since then it's come to light that she may have been involved with more than one affair partner, and when I say more than one I mean 3+ suspected. As of 1 week ago we had her served at work because it had also come to my attention that she had moved out of the apartment and surrendered the keys. I got an email from the management company. Now I wait, as she has 35 days to respond before it goes into default and the decree is issued. I will update later as more news comes to light. Thanks for reading. Update. So it's been just over 3 months since my soon-to-be ex had been served back at the end of June. Her lack of response to being served only let me know she either didn't care or wanted it to be over just as I had. As I sit here typing, I was informed that she retained counsel and intends to fight the annulment. I was pretty shocked to find out after calling the courthouse that she had filed for this extension at some point at the end of August, which would have been nearly 4 weeks after the deadline given. My mind is in a whirlwind because I can't believe for a second that she actually wants to reconcile with me. At this point, because of the fact that she did give birth to the affair partner's child at the end of July, she may be looking for someone to raise her affair baby and not for a genuine connection with me. I really don't know for sure because I don't read minds, but the feeling that she may try to sue me for paternity enters my mind, and I won't lie and say I'm not worried about it. After months of therapy, I come to understand more than before how mentally abusive my marriage was, and I have no doubt that if she is the same person, she's tried almost anything to try and hold me hostage. The day she and her counsel speak with the judges this Friday, and words of encouragement and advice would be greatly appreciated on how to deal with this news. While OP, here are my thoughts on the situation. If you have evidence and it will not cause problems with the divorce or annulment proceeding, then get it out there because she will lie. Also, contact her HR with the evidence when it's safe to do so. You might even be able to get evidence from the coworker if you let him know you're going to name him when you go to HR. Let him know that it'll be proven that he is the child's father, but if he helps, you can leave him out of it, or if he helps you enough, you can drop going to HR entirely. Yeah, it's dishonest and underhanded, but you owe this guy nothing. Get what you want and nuke the remains. There are 2 things you know for certain. 1, he will sell out your wife, and 2, this will end their affair and any other office affairs, and let her family know that you are one of at least 4 other men that could be the father of her child. I wish you the best, OP, and hope your situation is able to work out. Now let's get into today's second story. First-time poster here, so bear with me. I met my dream girl during the pandemic in 2020 by complete chance. It couldn't have gone better. We chatted all the time and got on perfectly and spent a few beautiful weeks together. I couldn't have asked for more. For me, it was the first person I had been involved with for a good few years. More on this later. So I became quickly invested in her, and she did with me too. During this time, we grew very close and started to have deeper conversations. I found out she actually had a boyfriend when we started talking, but she quickly ended that as things had fizzled out between them. I should have taken this as a sign. Anyway, by the end of a few weeks, I returned to the university to finish off my degree, and so did she. However, we were both well over 6 hours from each other. We agreed to stay in regular communication and would talk every day in order to see how we would go. We spoke every minute of every day as much as we could, growing closer and closer despite the distance. I made the journey down one time and we had the most lovely weekend. It couldn't have been better. However, I have a quirk or 2 in my past that I feel I should inform someone of if I ever get close. Better to be honest and upfront and all that. I have a one-time incident criminal record on a night out that I'm not proud of and got myself into a hole about. I did some major soul searching at that time and realized my life was on a downward spiral and I needed to sort it out. Long story short, I went from being at a dead end to studying online, gaining access to the university, and am now halfway through my master's, so I've made some progress. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Basically said the girl's parents did not like that I had a past like that, even though I was about to graduate and progress on to the next level. After that, things started to become a bit distant. We still spoke each day, and she convinced me she was going to talk to her parents about it when she flew back to Canada for Christmas. Yes, she's Canadian. If only I had known this was a load of rubbish. I eventually called things off in January 2021, as chasing a girl for that long really starts to ruin your mental health. In my own words at the time, I'm 1% of the guy I used to be when we first met. So we went our separate ways. Fast forward to April 2021. I get a message from her asking me how I'm doing and that she missed me, etc. Me being the soppy guy I am, obviously went along with it. She had actually moved back to Canada in January that year to finish her master's degree. So at this point she was still there. We chatted through all of the summer, did video calls every day and texted each day saying all sorts of lovely things to each other. She was reeling me back in very well and suggested multiple times she was moving back to the UK for me and her to start a relationship properly. Obviously, this had me hooked. I thought things were going to start looking up. I was very excited. Things were strange sometimes over the course of the summer, but I put it down to her being a bit stressed as her family was giving her grief for moving back to the UK and she had a lot on her plate with it. I feel so stupid for ignoring my gut about the whole thing. She got back here in July and from that month till November it was absolutely perfect. We were great together and it worked so well, but then Discovery Day happened on November 6, 2021. I had forgotten my laptop to do schoolwork, so she let me use hers while she was at work. I saw some things that looked funky to say the least. Emails with her ex's name, pictures from old holidays and folders with pictures on the laptop just on the screen plain to see. I did some digging and found some restaurant reservations from the first time we were talking. Then some emails regarding academic journals. They were both on the same course and living in the same city. I asked her about it and she said they were on placement together and that was it. Then I pressed more and more. She said they went to dinner a couple of times. Then I pressed more. She went to his house over a couple of months to watch sports with him and his friends. Then I pressed some more and she said he was walking her home from placement and she was inviting him inside. She slept with him on multiple occasions while talking to me. All of this info came out over a month and a bit. More information came too. She said she stayed at a cottage with her sister and mom when she was back home for a weekend. She saw him again with her family 2 weeks before she saw me again, had sex with him in the back of his car, and in her words said to make sure she didn't still have feelings for him before she saw me again. Honestly, since that day my head hasn't been right. I've been trying to struggle my way through it because she is convinced she made a terrible mistake because she knows I would be the best thing for her in every way. She basically feeds me all this stuff. Her reason for doing it? She didn't have approval from her family about me and thought I was too good for her, and she has low self-esteem, so she tends to self-destruct. She wants to reconcile and is apparently madly in love with me and is now in severe depression because of what she has done to me. Her friends say she's never seen her like this over a guy before. Her parents and sister loved me when they met me, so they're very disappointed in her that she's done this to me. They didn't know in what capacity we were talking. She hid it. Everyone is hugely disgusted by what she's done and how she's played me for over a year. What do I do about this? I honestly don't think I could ever trust her again, not properly. If I could, it'd take years of hard work and we don't live super close to each other at the moment. Half of me feels like I should consider trying to reconcile because maybe she did just make stupid choices. I don't believe anything is really ever a mistake though, and perhaps under all of that exterior there's a good person. The other half of me feels like I should just cut my losses, chalk it up on the scoreboard as experience and move on. I'm at a pivotal time in my life doing the best I've ever done academically and personally. I'm well on my way to graduating from my master's with a potential PhD on the cards. I never once pictured myself doing anything like this. The only thing making me think twice is that I do want a family, wife and kids and all that, eventually. I just don't know if I'd be missing out on an opportunity to help someone be better and maybe do well from it myself. Opie, after reading your story, here are my thoughts on the situation. So she cheated on you numerous times while you were long distance, then lied about it, trickle-truth, gaslit you about the reason, and now you're long distance again and are wondering what the future holds? She is going to cheat again. She likes the option of having you around but isn't loyal, honest, or respectful of your commitment. That's not a good choice for a partner in a same-city relationship. I'm not sure why you would waste your time with this. Stop with the long-distance nonsense. Just ghost her. No explanation needed. You don't owe her anything. Every second you invest in her is a complete waste of your time. Focus on your education. You will have plenty of time to find another woman that will be loyal and treat you right. Good luck, OP. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's stories.